Carlson, how long has Dan Sullivan been a resident of Alaska?
It's a question we've heard throughout the campaign, and tonight there's new information about where Sullivan lived and when. KTVA 11's Kate McPherson has more for us tonight. Kate?
James and Emily, officials in Maryland confirmed that Sullivan listed his house there as his primary residence in 2006 through 2008 in order to collect tax credits. But he voted in Alaska in those years, so he had to be a resident here. Can he have it both ways? That information, along with being rejected for a PFD in 2004, raises questions about where Sullivan calls home.
Dan Sullivan and his wife bought a $1.3 million home in Maryland in 2006. Today, the Department of Assessments and Taxation in Maryland confirmed that the Sullivans received property tax benefits by declaring the home as their primary residence between 06 and 08. But Dan Sullivan voted as an Alaskan in 06 and 08. Should he have been allowed to do that? Under Alaska state law, there can only be one residence. But there is much more to it. There are numerous rules for determining the residence of a including that a person doesn't lose their residency status if he or she leaves for work purposes with the intent of returning. A spokesperson says Sullivan always planned on moving back to Alaska after he left in 2002 to serve under the Bush administration. Alaska's Division of Elections also confirms Sullivan didn't break any laws when he voted in 06 and 08. For purposes of voter registration and voter residence, Mr. Sullivan was not out of compliance with state law, says the director. On Dan Sullivan's declaration of candidacy for U.S. Congress, he declared he's been a resident of Alaska since August 1997, but Democrats say this is misleading, even a lie. Sullivan was denied the permanent fund dividend in 2004, and according to the Begich campaign, Sullivan didn't apply for another PFD until 2011. So, has Sullivan been a resident since 1997? According to PFD criteria, no. According to Maryland tax officials, no. According to a 2009 fishing license, he wasn't a resident then. According to a 2010 fishing license, he'd been a resident for 1 year. And therefore, the answer of Dan Sullivan's residency duration is still unknown.
Regulation of our economy and our lives.
Senator Mark Begich also pays taxes to the District of Columbia for a house he owns there, but he doesn't claim it as his primary residence in order to collect tax credits. James?
All right, thank you, Kate. Dan Sullivan turned down our invitation to face his opponent in the November election. That means next month's televised debate here on KTVA 11 will not take place. It's not the first debate that Sullivan has declined. Sullivan did not take part in Sunday's debate at Shiloh Baptist Church. Sullivan Camp points out he debated Mark Begich shortly after the primary, and there are 7 more debates scheduled before the election. The campaign declined to go on camera, but told us Sullivan continues campaigning around the state. Political analysis Ivan Moore told us they create problems attracting undecided voters.
They're not facilitating a link between the candidates and the voters. They're not getting their opinions out there. Here we are a month away from the election, and they're not making that connection, and that's going to be a negative.
Governor Sean Parnell also set out of Sunday's candidate forum, but did visit the church earlier in the day. There's also been the perception that Parnell has not been as visible on the campaign.